Imagine dropping over $7,000 on a single ticket to watch, like, the most prestigious soccer match on earth.
Yeah, that's a massive investment for any fan.
Right. And you walk into the stadium expecting to witness the absolute pinnacle of human athletic achievement.
Yeah.
A pure, uninterrupted 90-minute battle of tactics and skill and physics.
Just the beautiful game in its purest form.
Exactly. But what if instead of a pristine athletic sanctuary, you realize you've actually just bought a remarkably expensive seat to a heavily produced reality show?
Right.
A show where the rules are being, actively rewritten in real time by politicians, border agents, and television executives.
It completely shatters the illusion of the sport, doesn't it? I mean, the lines on the pitch stop representing the boundaries of a game, and they start representing geopolitical fault lines and corporate revenue streams.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that is exactly where we are going today. Welcome to this deep dive. We are unpacking a massive stack of verified reports, data analytics, and investigative sources detailing the behind-the-scenes controversies of the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
And just to be clear up front for everyone listening, we aren't going to be breaking down formations or talking about who ultimately lifted the trophy.
No, not at all. We're diving into the logistical, the commercial, and officiating scandals that fundamentally altered the fabric of the sport. We're looking at the forces that dictated who was allowed into the country to play, how the actual rules were applied, and how billions of dollars quite literally stopped the clock.
It really was an unprecedented stress test for global sports governance. If you look at the source material we've gathered, the narrative isn't about soccer at all. It's about systemic integrity failures. And to really understand the scale of what happened in 2026, we have to start by looking at how the tournament was aggressively commodified. And that begins with the most basic element of the fan experience, which is the tickets.
Right, the tickets. I mean, there's always grumbling about the cost of attending a World Cup. That's a given. But 2026 it obliterated the historical scale.
It really did.
And we aren't just talking about the secondary scalper market here. The extortionate pricing was baked into the foundation by FIFA themselves because, according to the data, FIFA's official face value for a Category 2 ticket at the MetLife Stadium final was $7,380.
Just for a standard seat, not a VIP suite or anything.
A standard seat?
Yeah, and because the face value was set at that astronomical baseline, the authorized resale markets just spiraled completely out of control. Individual tickets for the final actually peaked at an unbelievable $2 million.
Well, wait, $2 million for 90 minutes of soccer?
Yeah. It sounds like a typo in the reports, but it wasn't.
That is insane. I mean, if you were one of those fans scraping together your savings just to be part of history, seeing that kind of extortionate ecosystem it's infuriating.
Oh, absolutely. The backlash was actually so severe that the state governments of New York and New Jersey had to step in.
Really?
The state governments.
Yeah, they issued official legal subpoenas to FIFA to launch investigations into these pricing structures and the factual accuracy of the seat locations being sold.
Wow. Which is a remarkable escalation.
Yeah.
You have sovereign state governments legally compelling an international sports body to open its books and explain its consumer practices, just because the greed became a localized legal liability.
Precisely. But the commercialization didn't just stop at the turnstiles, It bled onto the pitch and fundamentally altered the physical structure of the matches themselves.
Ah, you're talking about the hydration breaks.
Yes, the hydration breaks.
This is where it gets incredibly cynical to me. Because in December, long before a single ball was kicked, FIFA instituted a mandate for 3-minute player hydration breaks around the 22nd and 67th minutes of every single match.
Right, and the official rationale was player safety, combating the severe North American summer heat, which on the surface is a completely defensible policy. You obviously want to protect the athletes.
Of course.
The problem, however, arose in the uniform application of the rule. Referees were instructed to enforce these breaks across all 104 matches, regardless of localized weather conditions.
Right, which meant that play was being halted for mandatory heat hydration in fully climate-controlled, air-conditioned indoor stadiums.
Places like Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, Vancouver, they are playing in a comfortable 70-degree dome, and suddenly the whistle blows for a mandatory water break.
It makes zero sense athletically.
Exactly. It makes zero sense. So if you are looking at this logically, you have to ask what the actual mechanism driving this is. And the answer, unsurprisingly, was broadcasting revenue.
Precisely. Broadcasters like Fox Sports in the United States and Telemundo, They immediately seized upon these artificial timeouts. Because soccer, unlike American football or basketball, is a continuous flow.
Right, no timeouts.
Right. There are no natural commercial breaks outside of halftime. But suddenly, FIFA handed networks 4 distinct, guaranteed windows per match. And the networks used these breaks to run split-screen or full cutaway television commercials.
It's brilliant in the most devious way possible. They essentially took a continuous, grueling marathon and chopped it up into a series of fragmented sprints just so they could sell premium billboard space along the track.
And the financial windfall was staggering. A media study from the tournament estimated that Fox alone extracted between $250 million and $600 million in extra advertising revenue.
Wow.
Yeah, generated entirely from these specific hydration windows.
But the cost of that revenue is the soul of the sport because soccer is entirely predicated on momentum. You can't just pause the game for 3 minutes to sell pickup trucks without destroying the rhythm of the match.
No, you can't. And we actually have hard data backing up exactly how destructive it was to the on-field product.
What did the data show?
So Opta data, which was heavily analyzed by the Times, showed that match momentum dropped by an average of 17% immediately following a hydration break.
17%? That's massive.
It is. And even more critically, they found a structural shift in momentum in 32% of the matches.
Meaning, if you are a team heavily pressing your opponent, you've got them pinned in their own half, you are building immense pressure, the whistle blows for a commercial break, and your advantage is completely neutralized.
Exactly.
The networks literally changed the competitive balance of the games to pad their bottom line. So, okay, if financial barriers dictated who could watch the game, and commercial interests dictated the flow of the game, we have to transition to how governmental borders dictated who could even participate in the game.
Yeah, this is where the commercial control gives way to literal geopolitical control, because the 2026 tournament became a logistical nightmare for international participants due to strict border enforcement by the host nations, primarily the United States.
Yes.
And the most glaring high-profile example of this friction involved a man named Omar Abdulkadir Artan.
The Somali referee. This was supposed to be a massive historic milestone for him. He was slated to be the very first match official from Somalia to ever oversee a men's World Cup game.
Yes, but that historic moment never happened. When Artan arrived at Miami International Airport, he was detained for 11 hours by U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
11 hours, just waiting.
Yeah. He was subjected to extensive questioning and was ultimately denied entry over what were described as vague vetting concerns. So FIFA had absolutely no recourse and was forced to withdraw him from the tournament entirely.
Now, to be impartial here, U.S. officials maintain that this was strict adherence to their standard border policies. They stated they have a mandate to bar any individuals perceived to have questionable ties, regardless of their profession or their status, with an organization like FIFA.
Right, which is their right as a sovereign nation. But it highlights the inherent conflict of hosting a truly global event. The host nation's security apparatus directly countermanded the global sports governing body's operational decisions.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just individual referees getting caught in this web. Entire national teams had their operations severely compromised. The Iranian national team is perhaps the starkest example of this.
This one blew my mind when I read the source reports. Over a dozen technical and support staff members for the Iranian squad were outright denied U.S. entry visas.
Right, over a dozen.
And an elite soccer team relies heavily on its support staff, physios, tacticians, nutritionists.
Oh, absolutely. You can't compete without them. So because of these sweeping visa denials, Iran's Football Federation had to completely restructure their logistics. They were actually forced to base their entire training camp south of the border in Mexico.
Which means they had to fly into the United States immediately before their matches, play 90 minutes of grueling World Cup soccer, and then fly right back out to Mexico. I mean, anyone who follows sports science knows how critical recovery and sleep optimization are. Forcing an elite squad into a frantic international cross-border commute right before kickoff is a massive competitive disadvantage.
It really is.
The reports even cite severe physical squad exhaustion as a direct consequence of this arrangement.
And this wasn't an isolated incident targeting one specific nation either. The friction was widespread across various delegations. You had Ayman Hussein, who was a prominent Iraqi striker. He was detained for hours in Chicago by border agents.
A starting player?
Yep, and the Iraqi team's official photographer was barred from entry altogether. Furthermore, Over 90 Moroccan fans individuals who provided documented, verified travel histories showing they had attended prior World Cups and the Paris Olympics without incident. They had their visa applications rejected too.
It's just wild. If you are bidding to host the World Cup, doesn't that require a fundamental agreement to actually let the world in? It feels like the host nation was playing a heavy defensive block before the tournament even started.
That's a good analogy.
But this geopolitical tension didn't stop at customs checkpoints in Miami and Chicago. It escalated to the absolute highest echelons of global power. And this leads us to what I consider the most shocking revelation in this entire stack of sources: direct political intervention in on-field discipline.
Yeah, this specific incident effectively blurred the line between sports governance and international diplomacy entirely. It occurred during a round of 32 match between the United States and Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Right, so American striker Folarin Balogun was involved in an incident where he stepped on the heel and ankle of Bosnian defender Tarik Maharmovic.
Yeah, and the referee goes to the VAR monitor, reviews the footage, and issues Balogun a straight red card.
And as any soccer fan knows, a straight red card for a foul like that comes with an automatic mandatory suspension for the next match. There is no getting around it. That is the bedrock of the disciplinary system.
Exactly. Under any normal circumstance, his tournament would have been paused, and he would have missed the crucial round of 16 match against Belgium. However, following the game, U.S. President Donald Trump directly contacted FIFA President Gianni Infantino.
The President of the United States gets on the phone with the head of FIFA over a red card.
Yes. Now again, looking strictly at the administrative facts and the reports, the president complained that the red card decision was horrible and explicitly requested a review of the mandatory suspension.
So we are looking at a head of state utilizing the weight of their office to intervene in a sports governing body's standard disciplinary procedure.
Right.
So, faced with direct pressure from the leader of the host nation, you would expect FIFA to protect the integrity of its rulebook, to just say no.
You would think so, but they completely folded.
They fold.
They utilized a highly controversial administrative maneuver. FIFA invoked Article 27 of its disciplinary code.
Okay, what is Article 27?
Well, to understand why this is so shocking, you have to look at how Article 27 is mechanically designed to be used. It is intended for exceptional circumstances. Force majeure, extreme administrative hardship, natural disasters, things of that nature. It is not designed to be a loophole to overturn a standard on-pitch refereeing decision just because a VIP is unhappy with it.
But they used it anyway. They invoked Article 27 to suspend Balogun's mandatory one-match ban for a probationary year, which is a completely fabricated timeline in the context of a month-long tournament.
Yeah, it's essentially meaningless.
But it immediately freed him up to play against Belgium.
Naturally, the Belgian Football Association was furious. They called the ruling astonishing and immediately filed a formal counter-appeal, arguing that the integrity of their upcoming match had been compromised by outside political interference.
And FIFA's response to Belgium was essentially a bureaucratic stiff arm, right?
Exactly. FIFA rejected Belgium's appeal on the grounds that Belgium was not a formal party to the initial proceeding, since the initial proceeding was between the U.S. and Bosnia and Herzegovina.
The semantic maneuvering there is incredible.
It really is. And this entire sequence triggered massive institutional ethics complaints against Infantino for blatantly violating FIFA's own mandates regarding political neutrality.
Just think about the trickle-down effect of that. If a phone call from the Oval Office can miraculously erase a suspension on a Tuesday, what is stopping external pressure from overturning a goal on a Saturday?
Nothing, really.
It completely shatters any residual trust in the officiating, which brings us perfectly to the chaos on the pitch itself, because if the integrity of the tournament was compromised by TV ads and politicians, the video assistant referee, or VAR, became the ultimate tool for systemic bias.
Yeah, VAR was originally introduced to be an objective, clinical tool, a way to correct clear and obvious errors. But during the 2026 tournament, it became the focal point for deep-seated integrity questions.
Oh, absolutely.
We can clearly see this by comparing how the technology was applied or purposefully ignored, depending on which teams were playing. Let's examine the round of 16 match between Egypt and Argentina.
Okay, yes. This one is the perfect case study in how you can weaponize the rulebook.
So Egypt is playing incredibly well. They're up 2-0. In the 62nd minute, Mustafa Zico scores a brilliant goal to put Egypt up 3-0. The game should be effectively over.
Right. A 3-goal lead is usually a wrap.
However, a lengthy, microscopic VAR review is initiated. The officials scroll all the way back through the build-up play and disallow the goal for a highly subjective minor foul that occurred at the absolute opposite end of the pitch.
Right. They acted like bad faith insurance adjusters, just combing through the absolute finest print of the play to find any microscopic technicality to deny the claim and pull the goal off the board.
That's a great way to put it.
And let me guess, when Argentina inevitably marches down the pitch and commits a similar foul, the VAR booth suddenly loses the footage.
That is essentially what happened. Following the disallowed goal, Argentina mounts a massive comeback to win 3-2. But the critical discrepancy occurred on Enzo Fernandez's stoppage time winner. That play faced absolutely no build-up scrutiny from VAR.
None at all.
None. The contrasting application of the technology was so stark that Egypt's manager, Hassam Hassan, filed a formal complaint. He explicitly stated his belief that FIFA was engineering outcomes to ensure the reigning world champions and Lionel Messi remained in the tournament for viewership reasons.
And Messi himself was the beneficiary of this bizarre VAR blind spot earlier in the tournament, wasn't he?
He was. During a group stage match against Algeria, Messi committed a severe studs-up challenge directly onto the leg of Algerian defender Aissa Mandi.
Which is incredibly dangerous.
Oh, yeah. It was the exact type of dangerous play that VAR is strictly mandated to review for a red card. Yet the Polish referee on the pitch, Simon Marciniak, declined to issue a card, and the VAR room remained entirely silent. They didn't even recommend he look at the monitor.
See, that instantly fuels the conspiracy theories. You have fans watching these feeds globally. They see a minor foul 80 yards away erase an Egyptian goal, but a marquee superstar drives his cleats into an opponent's leg, and the system just looks the other way.
Yeah, the inconsistency is glaring.
It functions less like an objective microscope and more like a kaleidoscope, you know? The rules twist and change shape depending entirely on whose jersey you are evaluating.
And it wasn't strictly limited to protecting Argentina either. The systemic inconsistency plagued multiple knockout rounds. Take the round of 32 between Germany and Paraguay.
What happened there?
German defender Jonathan Tah scores a crucial extra-time header, putting Germany up 2-1. Again, VAR intervenes. They meticulously review the box and disallow the goal, judging that Woldemar Anton had illegally blocked the goalkeeper, despite replays showing incredibly minimal standard jostling.
Wow.
And because of that, Germany is subsequently knocked out in penalty kicks.
And this tone was really set from the very first whistle of the tournament.
Yes, it was. The opening match between Mexico and South Africa descended into absolute officiating chaos, setting a World Cup record with 3 separate red cards.
3 red cards in the opening match.
Yeah. The South African manager, Hugo Broos, didn't hold back. He openly accused the referee, Wilton Sampaio, of blatant bias against his squad and was forced to formally appeal Themba Zwane's 3-match suspension, citing it as wildly disproportionate.
When the referees and the video monitors become the central narrative in almost every critical knockout match, the foundational integrity of the competition is gone. I mean, you have a tournament where the timing is dictated by Fox Sports, the attendance is dictated by U.S. Customs, the suspensions are dictated by world leaders, and the scores are dictated by a highly selective video review process.
It's the perfect storm of interference.
It is. But as we dig into the final section of these reports, we realize that the rot didn't just stay on the pitch. The post-tournament investigations revealed that things were actually much darker than just biased refereeing.
That's right. Because in the aftermath of the tournament, FIFA predictably released statements declaring it a massive success and a clean competition. However, independent international monitoring bodies completely contradicted FIFA's narrative.
In what way?
Specifically, an independent gambling watchdog issued 7 separate yellow alerts for suspicious betting irregularities.
Okay, for those who might not know the mechanics of sports betting analytics, a yellow alert isn't just someone guessing the game looks weird, right? How exactly are these watchdogs flagging these matches?
Oh, it's heavily algorithmic. These monitoring bodies track real-time global betting liquidity. They know exactly how much money should theoretically be wagered on a specific outcome based on historical data.
Right.
A yellow alert is triggered when there's a massive, statistically impossible spike in money being placed on highly specific, obscure events right before they happen.
Like someone suddenly dropping $1 million on a specific player getting a yellow card in the 40th minute.
Exactly. And the watchdogs issued 7 of these alerts across 7 different matches in 2026.
That's a lot.
It is. For example, they flagged highly unusual market activity surrounding a red card given to a South African player indicating that bettors may have known the card was coming. They also flagged mathematically irregular betting patterns on a group stage draw between Spain and Cape Verde.
So not only are we looking at political manipulation, but there is hard data suggesting that the matches were actively being manipulated by syndicates, leveraging insider information for gambling payouts.
Yeah, the data points heavily in that direction.
Mm.
And the toxicity extended beyond gambling syndicates into raw post-match geopolitics. The tensions that we saw at the borders and in the VIP suites spilled into ugly public hostility.
Right.
Following Paraguay's elimination after a loss to France, a sitting Paraguayan senator took to social media and posted blatantly racist remarks aimed directly at the French forward, Kylian Mbappe.
A sitting government official launching racist attacks at a player over a soccer game.
Yes, and it escalated beyond just a social media scandal. The French Football Federation treated it with the severity it deserved. They bypassed FIFA entirely and filed an official criminal complaint regarding the incident.
Wow, going straight to a criminal complaint.
Yeah. It is a stark example of how, instead of acting as a unifying global festival, the 2026 tournament functioned as a pressure cooker that actively exacerbated international hostilities and brought out the absolute worst in political figures.
It really paints an incredibly grim, comprehensive picture of what happened behind the curtain. We started this deep dive asking what happens when a global sporting event sinks under the weight of external forces. And synthesizing everything we've just gone through, the answer is pretty undeniable. The 2026 World Cup was a massive, failing stress test for global sports.
It proved that when you inject billions of dollars in broadcast revenue, aggressive national border enforcement, and intense diplomatic pressure onto a single soccer pitch, the actual sport is suffocated. The athletic competition becomes entirely secondary to the commercial and political proxy wars being waged around it.
You look at the mechanics we explored today, a 17% drop in match momentum deliberately engineered to sell advertising. The unprecedented rule-bending use of Article 27 to appease a world leader. The surgical bad faith use of VAR to protect specific narratives, and algorithmic data proving that the integrity of the matches was compromised by gambling syndicates.
Yeah.
You see a system that didn't just bend. It completely broke to the will of whoever exerted the most pressure or held the most cash.
It forces a very uncomfortable realization about the vulnerability of international sporting bodies, especially when they are confronted by true global superpowers and massive corporate monopolies.
It really does. It leaves you wondering what the actual future of international sports looks like. Because we all want to believe in that perfectly manicured pitch. We want to believe it's a sanctuary of pure competition. But I want to leave you with this final thought as we wrap up today. If television networks can fundamentally alter the physics and timing of a global game just for ad revenue, and politicians can successfully pressure a governing body to overturn on-field decisions to suit their national interests... Wait. Let me rephrase that. At what point does a sporting event cease to be a true athletic competition and simply become a highly produced reality show, entirely scripted by the highest bidder and the most powerful leader?
The White House.
Can I keep it?
For you? Well, you can.
We're not giving it back. We're not giving it back. That's serious.
It fits well.
That goes very well on the wall right over there. We'll put it right below the angels.
It fits well here, I
That's
think.
beautiful. Yeah.
You can keep it until we have to give it to the next winner.
That's fine. That's a beautiful piece of